What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F122 My Team career mode. Last time out we were at the Miami Grand Prix and we took our 4th win in 5 races, and now we are moving into the Spanish Grand Prix, which is the first time that we'll have done this in a couple of years. It was off the calendar last year because some people think it is a boring race, so I thought why not take it off the calendar for a change, but now I brought it back to see if I can maybe get a win here. It's not a track I typically do too well at, you know. I always remember that Season 2 race I had where I qualified on the back row of the grid and worked my way all the way through from 21st, I think it was, up to 8th. And yeah, I was pretty proud of that performance. But in any case, I don't know if we're going to be able to make up a significant number of places in this Grand Prix if we don't start towards the front, because the drivers around me are a lot stronger than they were back then. You know, with every passing season, it feels like these drivers are getting better and better and better. Change our gearbox quickly, which was getting very worn out towards the end of the Grand Prix, and quickly, just very swiftly, bump up the difficulty by 1 point up to 85 difficulty because we had that rivalry with Charles Leclerc, which we comprehensively beat him in. He's not having anywhere near as strong a season as he's had in recent years. Seems like maybe this is the start of his decline after 4 strong seasons in which he claimed 2 championships. This season he doesn't really look like he's going to be in the conversation. It's Perez, Norris, maybe Verstappen. Those are the kinds of drivers I'm really looking at, thinking that they're going to be challenging for the title at the sharp end of the season. POURCHAIRE'S as well, if he can finally get his act together, might be in the conversation. He goes fastest here in this practice session, but I'm not going to read too much into it. What is slightly scary is that his fastest time was 2 seconds faster than mine, even if I did do mine on the medium tyres. I think, yeah, it's going to be a tough task to qualify well, sort of in the top 5 roughly, in this Grand Prix. I obviously want to be towards the front, but like I said, I think it's going to be very difficult. I never have really particularly enjoyed this circuit. It's always been sort of the one that comes right off the back of a series of stronger races for me. You know, Miami is one I'm typically pretty good at. Obviously now they've introduced Imola in recent years. That's not a race I'm necessarily particularly great at, but you know, China, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, those kinds of Grand Prix, they always are pretty strong ones for me. But yeah, Spain was always sort of the race that came along to kind of kill my momentum a little bit in any championship over the last few years of the game. So I'm hoping that we can just get a solid enough result here to hold on to the lead we have in the championship at the moment. I can't remember exactly how big our lead is. I think it's about 20 points roughly. I'm not 100% sure though. I'd have to check at some stage. Either way, we come into qualifying. This is Q1 and we're going to start out on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, and it will be good enough for a 1:16.7 to kick off, which yeah, I think we might need to improve on that a little bit if we want to make it through, because you know, we're barely faster than the likes of Tsunoda and Joe and an uncompetitive POURCHAIRE lap. That said, I went immediately again on that same set of tyres which we used at that point and improved by another 4/10, and I was thinking that this would probably be good enough to see me through to Q2 at least. And indeed, I didn't do another lap after that one, and we went through in 7th, POURCHAIRE there in 6th. And yeah, pretty comprehensively good enough. I think my first lap probably would have been good enough, looking at the times that Esteban Ocon and the cars below him did. But either way, I'm not going to dwell on that for much longer. And yeah, it's just good that we made it through to Q2, and now the minimum I want is to make it through to Q3. It looks like it might actually rain. The weather has got significantly worse. It's a 1:16.7 to kick off. This is on a used set of softs. In fact, I think this might be the same set of softs I did those 2 laps on beforehand. So yeah, we did very well to get a 1:16.7, and unsurprisingly, we improved by a lot on our final lap of the session, 6/10. It's going to be good enough for a 1:16.0, and that puts us again P7. Okay, so clearly the other cars around us have improved as well. We improved by a few tenths, but it's not good enough to move us up the order any. You can see POURCHAIRE improved to a 1:15.7 to get a P2 there, and no real shocks going through or going out. You know, sometimes the Alpines go out. I think the only thing that's really surprising, I think Joe went out in Q1, and he's having a very bad run of form at the moment in that Mercedes. I would not be surprised if someone comes and takes his place at some stage. You can see that both Hasses and both Williams made it through, knocking out Joe, and I guess Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri was the other exit. He, up until this point, I thought was having a pretty good season, so yeah, maybe just struggling to find form here in Spain. I think he's having a pretty good season IRL so far as well. A couple of 11th place finishes in what is considered to be quite an uncompetitive AlphaTauri, comprehensively beating De Vries as well. Yeah, he's having a good time of things. It's looking like he's finally coming good. We do a 1:16.3 on a used set of softs to kick things off, and now we are going to do a final run on, I think actually again this is on the same set of tyres if I remember correctly. I just felt like I was going a bit faster, so we improve up to a 1:16.2, but unfortunately I actually got some underbody damage during that lap. You can't really see it, but it's going to take some time to repair, and the time it took to repair was the only time I had left to do a lap, so it was a really foolish plan to go out again. I don't think I was getting pole, because you can see there that Norris did a 1:14.2, and I didn't get into the 1:15s at any point during the weekend. So I'm wondering if that's quali glitch, because I didn't go out on the final few minutes of qualifying. Either way, yeah, we're going to be starting P9. At least we're going to be ahead of George Russell, but I was hoping Pourchaire might do a little bit better than P8. A bit unfortunate that he couldn't find any more form than that either, and really we just kind of got a little bit screwed over, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm just hoping that we can perhaps find a bit of pace in the race. You know, we typically go better in the race than we do in qualifying here in recent years, I've found. We made up quite a few positions obviously in that Season 2 race, and I don't even remember how the Season 3 race went now, but yeah, it's unimportant. I think we had a not great result there, if I remember correctly. So yeah, this I'm hoping will be my finest Spanish Grand Prix to date, and that we can maybe make up some positions up to sort of the top 5 or so. That would be the ideal scenario. You know, I'm sure at least 1 or 2 cars in front of us are going to have some kind of issue that will allow us to progress through the field. That's all I can really hope for. And yeah, we'll see if we can make our way up into the top 5. I'd like for us to both get up into the top 5, but sadly I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be one or the other, and I'm just hoping that it's going to be me. You know, I'm already the championship favourite by a long shot. I think Pourchaire's already really kind of out of the conversation unless he finds a lot of form soon. But now it's time to get into the race.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-meter sprint down into Turn 1. This is a 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through the 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out Turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of Turn 9. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Leclerc, Sergio Perez, and Gasly. Verstappen, Théo Pourchaire, Robinson, and George Russell. Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Esteban Ocon, and Latifi. Oscar Piastri, Joe, Christian Lundgaard, and Yuki Tsunoda. Albon, they've taken a grid penalty. Stroll, Schwartzman, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Well, we're going to be aiming to get into the top 5 here. I think we're 28 points in the lead of the championship. You can see Perez is starting P5. So at the moment, if things stay the way they do, he will only regain 8 points on me. I actually am in I'm in sort of, what was the term I used for it? Outside of DNF range, which means if I DNF, I'll still be leading the championship no matter what happens in this Grand Prix. That's a quite comfortable feeling, isn't it? So yeah, we're already really starting to walk away with this championship. Norris is leading a McLaren 1-2, and yeah, I'm going to see if I can try and upset the balance a bit as the lights go out. And we get a very good start. You can see that we're already challenging Pourchaire on those medium tyres, but I think he will come back at us. It's a very long run down to turn 1 as per usual. And yeah, I'm just hoping to see if maybe I can go around his outside. I back off a little bit there because I don't want to go into the back of the cars in front, but they will make it through turn 1 without too much issue. I think there's a little bit of squabbling going on behind us, including between Schumacher and Russell as well. Schumacher making his way up into P10, and now I think he's going to be challenging up the inside of me as well. And yeah, I have to keep the outside to prevent him from going into the side of me, and that harms my chances of getting past Pourchaire. However, I try and come back at him into the following corner, but yeah, I still can't quite find the grip on the outside. I think Schumacher was looking to maybe attack me. It was a bit reckless of me there to dive to the outside of the corner while he was alongside me. He probably had to pull out of the move, and if he didn't, that could have been a disaster for both of us. But yeah, we now move into the later stages of the first lap, and Schumacher is still attacking me. I really can't seem to find this, you know, any kind of grip around some of these corners, which is really leaving me susceptible to attack. I even went over the track at one point there, but we did hold on to that P9, and now we're hunting down Pierre Gasly in P8 after my teammate Pourchaire has got ahead of him. Pourchaire on those medium tyres seems to have quite a bit of pace, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he finds his way up into further position over the course of this race. You can see I was not prepared to go around the outside of Gasly there. I was not dummying him. I just went up the inside at the last second. He tried to cover me off, but yeah, he just couldn't manage it, and we take P8 on track. So we are comprehensively in charge of this race at the moment. But yeah, we do need to try and make a few more positions up going forward. And this is Robert Schwartzman, I believe. It's one of the Alfa Romeos. I think it's Schwartzman. And you can see he seems to have some kind of issue. He's pulled off to the side of the track there, and he will be retiring from this race very shortly, I imagine, pulling off to the runoff area. And yeah, I don't know if that will trigger a safety car or not. However, if we look now, you can see that this is also my championship rival, Sergio Perez, retiring from the Grand Prix. For the first time that he's not running in podium contention, he just says screw it and gives up. And I feel like 2 cars stopped on track very shortly after one another might trigger a safety car, especially because that's not the greatest position. You know, if someone bottoms out into a spin, yeah, as I expected, that is in fact a safety car. We're only a couple laps out from our pit window, so I'm thinking like now might be a good opportunity to stop onto the mediums. I think, unfortunately for us, Perez retired just a tiny bit too early for the rest of the drivers in front not to react to that. So we probably won't gain any off of that. We might have been able to gain significantly off of that if it had happened even like, you know, a few corners later. We probably would have been able to benefit from that. But yeah, as it is, I think we're not really going to be gaining on any of the cars around us, apart from maybe our teammate Théo Pourchaire, who has stayed out and I'm really running out of words for what's happening with Pourchaire this season. You know, it's always he gets caught up in damage, or he gets screwed by strategy, or he has a poor qualifying and it sets him up badly for the remainder of the race. I just don't know what has to happen for everything to go right for him in a weekend, you know? Saudi Arabia is literally the only race where he hasn't been screwed in some kind of way or fucked up of his own accord. I'm speechless, honestly. I can't... The thing is, I keep talking about how I want to get rid of him, but really he's only made 1 or 2 mistakes this season. A lot of it is not really his fault, you know what I mean? Like, he could have progressed through the field as is, but now he's going to be pitting in a few laps' time, and he's going to come out in like 16th, probably. So, I just asked myself, what's the point, you know? Would another teammate be doing any better than Pourchaire? And I don't think the answer is yes. You can see that we made up a position on Leclerc. I was lamenting Pourchaire's predicament so much that I barely even reacted to that. But yeah, we are now up into 6th place, and once Pourchaire pits, that will be 5th place. So we will have achieved what we wanted to in this race. But if we can stay with the cars in front, then you know, I'm more than happy for us to perhaps try and make up even more position compared to my initial targets for this race, especially considering we had a retirement in front of us as well. I would like to maybe get P4, get ahead of Verstappen and Ricciardo if we possibly can. Pourchaire now coming into the pits at the end of lap 16, and that's basically any chance of him scoring points in this Grand Prix completely over. He really needed another safety car if anything was going to happen, but yeah, that's life. That's what all the people say. And yeah, now we're just going to try and get ahead of the cars in front. You can see that Verstappen and Ricciardo are starting to battle there. Verstappen seems to think he has a bit more pace than Ricciardo, so he's going to try and sweep around the outside of him into turn 1. And I don't know if he's quite managed to make the move work there. We have to back out to avoid going into the back of Verstappen here, and that's allowed us to catch up beautifully to them. I'm only about a 10th behind him now, and yeah, he's going to have to defend to the inside. I'm going to try and go around the outside. We're on medium tyres, but we don't quite have the grip. I'm wondering if I'm running too low tyre pressures here, possibly, because I don't seem to have the same level of grip as other people. But either way, I got up the inside, and we get ahead of Max Verstappen into, I think that's turn 4 or turn 5. But he is going to fight back at us, but we do manage to keep him behind nonetheless. And yeah, as we come through turn 9 now, you can see that we are in 4th position, and yeah, maybe we can make up one more spot to find ourselves in the podium places. That would be fantastic. From starting 9th on the grid, a nice recovery up to P3. I would love to see that. But yeah, I think we're going to have to wait a few more laps to see whether that's going to be the case. But we progress a few more laps, and now you can see that we are on to lap 21. And yeah, Ricciardo, I think, is gaining on Sainz in front of him. I wonder if he's going to go for a move here. He looks to the inside, dummies to the outside, and he's going to try and go around the outside of him, much like Verstappen did to Ricciardo just a few laps ago, but he can't quite make the move work. They make a bit of contact there, and they're going wheel to wheel, which is holding each other up beautifully for me, and that means that I'm able to reintroduce myself to this fight. Verstappen is also getting a bit antsy on the back of me. They hold each other up. Sainz pushes him to the outside, I go to the inside, but Sainz is now coming back to the outside of this next corner to cover me off. We make a bit of contact. I try and go around the outside of both of them. I think I haven't made them quite work, but Ricciardo has fallen out of favour quite significantly. Now we're going to try and go around the outside of Sainz as well, and we make the move stick, and that's basically a double overtake if you think about it. You know, it took a few corners, but we made up 2 places in just the space of a few corners. I'm losing my voice, and extremely exciting racing between myself, Sainz and Ricciardo, and yeah, I'm now in P2. I don't think I'll be catching Norris by the end of the race. You can see he's very far ahead, but yeah, from starting P9 to making my way up into P2, this was a hell of a recovery drive, and one that will enable me to extend my championship lead by a lot, especially considering Perez is out of the race. You know, I'm gaining 18 points over him. I don't know if Norris will overtake him in the championship, because he has been pretty rapid in these recent races. I think he got P2 in Miami, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, now he's gunning for the win here in Spain. So yeah, he might end up being the championship contender, not Perez. But at the moment, it's kind of turning into a who am I kidding? There isn't really a championship contender type scenario. You know, I've been stuck in some very tight championship battles previously. I think Sainz attacked me on the previous lap, but he's now lost out to Ricciardo, who is going to try and catch on me as we come into turn 1 once again. He's going up the inside here. Is he going to try and make the move happen? He is, but I hold on around the outside, find enough grip on the outside to keep him behind. And now we are going to try and see if we can hold him off for the remainder of the Grand Prix. Only 6 more laps at this stage. I tried to find out where my teammate is, but the game says no, so I'll try again in a second. And yeah, we really not having, or what am I trying to say? Yeah, Pourchaire is not having the best of races right now. He's 26 positions behind me and 19th. And yeah, really not what you would want from a team perspective. This is not a great position to find ourselves in. You know, we could have had both cars in the points. Unfortunately, we're just yeah, can't seem to make it happen. Can't seem to make Pourchaire get any good results this season. He's only had 1 podium, whereas I've had 4 wins, and I'm looking like this is going to be my 6th podium of the season, because we had a podium in Imola as well, despite starting last. That was an absolutely inspired result, thanks to a fantastic strategy. And yeah, we're now trying to convert this into our 6th podium if we can hold off the likes of Ricciardo and Sainz and Verstappen. And there's a big train there. Like I told you, I'm not very fast around this circuit, but I've managed to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers to put myself into contention for this podium position. But it's not going to be straightforward, you know. Fortunately, I'm good at conserving battery around here, which is meaning that I'm not really opening myself up to too much of a challenge, but I did go a bit deep into turn 1 there, and that almost allowed Ricciardo into the fight a tiny bit. So yeah, if I'm running out of tyre grip on these medium compound tyres when they're on the hards, which are going to definitely last with quite a bit of grip until the end of the race, we could be looking at the potential for me to lose out on these positions, and I could fall down potentially even as far as 6th or something like that. You know, Leclerc is behind Verstappen, not by very much. So yeah, we're going to have to do quite a lot to try and hold on. But you know, I'm the king of holding on. If you watched that Season 2 race I did around here, you might remember that I was able to hold off the likes of Ocon and I think it was Magnussen as well for I think it was a P8 finish in the end, and I was defending like crazy from them. So that was that was an experience of defense in this track. As long as you can hold on to the battery, you'll be doing well. And yeah, we've only got 3 more laps. You can see that Norris has increased the gap significantly since I initially overtook Ricciardo and Sainz by about 4 or 5 seconds. So it's clear that I do not have any kind of race-winning pace here. But sometimes you don't need race-winning pace. All you need is enough skill in defense and enough pace that people don't just absolutely blitz past you. I obviously, you know, find it difficult to race with cars on the straights just due to this this seemingly never-ending issue with traction I have, as Ricciardo goes up my inside again, but can't make the move work still. And yeah, we've only got 2 more laps to defend. If you've enjoyed watching my my charge through the field followed by this stalwart defense, then please do consider subscribing. I've been looking at my analytics recently, and it turns out that 60% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So it would be yeah, really amazing if some of those 60% could drop a subscription on the channel to continue supporting me and letting me know that you like what I'm doing, and I will definitely keep doing it for a long time to come yet. But now we round the corner onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, and you can see that Ricciardo's actually lost out significantly there. I think he must have got held up by me or something like that, because he has now been overtaken by Sainz, and Sainz has found his way up into P3, Verstappen's found his way up into P4, and yeah, I don't know how this race is going to end. You can see there's a massive cluster of them on the minimap there, including Leclerc as well, and Verstappen has actually found his way into P3, Sainz all the way down to P5. Sainz was running in a comfortable P2 earlier in this Grand Prix, and now Sainz is all the way down in P5, and I think that's how things are going to stick, unless he can make a decisive overtake in this DRS zone, but it doesn't look like he will be able to, so it's going to be 5th and 6th for those Ferraris, and it will be a 3rd place for the Red Bull, which will be good. It means they won't lose too much ground to us in the constructors fight still. But yeah, a really strong performance from us here. We were able to make up quite a lot of positions. We capitalised on the battles between the cars ahead of us to overtake them, and we're going to cross the line to take P2 in this Spanish Grand Prix. That is a fantastic result, and probably my finest Spanish Grand Prix to date. one of my strongest races if you look at where I started compared to where I finished. But they decided that Joe was more deserving of driver of the day in the end. I'd love to know why.
So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their head when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that has allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy and stay out of trouble.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure. And no doubt, they'll be celebrating tonight.
Norris takes his first win of the season, and yeah, he's been a strong contender in just about every season of this career mode since the second one. The first one, I don't think the McLaren was overly competitive, but ever since it's had race-winning potential, he has been right up at the sharp end of the grid. And yeah, maybe, just maybe, he might be able to reintroduce himself for a fight for his second World Championship. Obviously, he claimed it in Season 3. The 2024 season, if you will, and maybe he'll be able to mount a challenge against me, but we'll have to wait and see how things materialise.
See how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Robinson increases their championship lead. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Granny Joe gets my vote today.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
I really honestly do not get why Joe is the driver who got driver of the day. He only made up 6 positions, I made up 7, and they were for a much more consequential position. Why is it that he is the one who gets lauded with praise and plaudits, and I do not? Either way, we extend our lead in the championship up to about 40-ish points, I think, and the lead in the Constructors' Championship is now up to 9 points as well. So it's pretty close, but one strong team result will be enough to move us into a pretty comfortable position against the Red Bulls. They are definitely looking like our biggest challengers at the moment, and yeah, the Red Bull of Perez still looking like my biggest challenger in the Drivers' Championship for now, although this DNF will have set him back a bit. Obviously, my DNF was very inconsequential. It cost me no points because I wasn't even running in the points when it happened in that Imola sprint race, and we still managed to recover ourselves up to P3, which I don't think would have happened had we finished in any kind of competitive position whatsoever. If we'd have been in sort of like P7, I probably would have just tried to consolidate the P7 and pitted. It was the fact that we were running so uncompetitively that made me decide to take a gamble on the strategy, because I was like, you know, we might as well just try and see what happens. There's no harm in, you know, attempting a different strategy and seeing how things materialise. So yeah, that DNF honestly gained me points in the long term, and that could be pivotal for our championship in the end. Either way, we got a good result here in Spain, which was slightly unexpected after qualifying. I was thinking maybe P5 would be a top result for us, and we managed to recover to P2 thanks to the squabbles between the cars in front. And that's proof that sometimes it is really just better to let some cars go if you think that they're faster than you, because sometimes being racy with them is not what's going to make you get the most points. And this was certainly the case for Carlos Sainz today. I think if he hadn't have allowed me back into range, he probably could have got P2 or even P3. But because he had so many battles with Ricciardo, he ended up P5, so he'll be pretty disappointed with that. Ferrari will be pretty disappointed that they only walked away with P5 and P6, especially considering this is Sainz's home race as well. He would have been wanting to stand on the podium for the first time in his home Grand Prix. It didn't happen, and yeah, we are gonna have to wait another season to see if he can have a strong result here. You know, we're no stranger to that kind of home turf curse. I think it's kind of happening to everyone, you know. Leclerc doesn't always typically go well at his home race in Monaco. Max Verstappen's had more DNFs in this series than I can count at Zandvoort, and we've always had something to get us off the podium in the British Grand Prix. So yeah, we know what the curse is like. Next up is going to be the Monaco Grand Prix, so you're definitely going to want to check that one out. It never goes well for me, it's always hilarious. But that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.